So I just opened up my computer, and this is what I saw. Part of a search that I was doing, what feels like 2 weeks ago now. Got all this stuff open on my computer, all these tabs, and I'd like to close them all, but if I've left them here, it's because there's still things I want to share. So I did close a bunch, and like I said, I clicked on this one, and here's where I found myself. It was so long ago that I'd forgotten. I looked down here in the corner and I remembered. Where are we? One of my favorite games. A tool to kind of wrap our heads around what we know, where we've been, and I just couldn't tell. I scrolled over this way, found that we were on a lake, and here the works continue and actually looking more like a river. And then I saw this. What we would be told is a tomb or something. Everything is a tomb or a temple or place of worship. And as we move up here, we can see a lot of block work. And this may have been a great castle. Or according to the narrative, it was probably carved and not finished. But anyway, where are we? I thought we would just reverse engineer my exploration. Thank you for being here, and welcome. And here we are in Meinberg, Germany. And this is what seems like just some rock outcropping from above. God, the resolution really sucks today. Look at this. And probably by design. The Sacred Sandstone Rocks and Nature Reserve. We've discussed nature reserves. Simply a tool for covering something up. So not even a better story than this? And there was, a couple weeks ago, I vaguely remember the story, and it was by accident that I found this. I was actually looking at a monument not far from here. We'll have a look at that monument in a minute. But here, just some images they offer, and looking like a mega structure that has been melted. I don't even know what else to say. I mean, except that it may have been carved. And here we are on this nice platform, and I don't know, just everything about it is clearly not natural. I'm at least hoping that they tell us it was carved by someone. And here another little look, very, very structure-like. Here they've made a ladder to connect to some old melted stairs, it looks like, clearly. What else? Here's some circular sections, and in sync with these indentations up here, perhaps metal once embedded in here. But yeah, this is great evidence, especially if we have chambers now barred up, which implies that they go deeper than just some superficial carving. So what do they say? Next tab that I was wanting to close, the Externstein, a distinctive sandstone rock formation located near the town of Hornbad, Meinberg. Okay, the town of Hornbad in the German state of North Rhine-Westphalia, like the Volkswagen. The formation, again formation, is a tor or tower consisting of several tall, narrow columns of rock which rise abruptly from the surrounding wooded hills. In a popular tradition going back to 1564, these rocks were identified as a sacred site of the Paxen Saxons, or maybe their building before it was melted. And the location of the Irminsul was a sacred pillar-like object destroyed by Charlemagne. There's no archaeological evidence that would confirm the site's use. No, this is just geology, it seems like they're telling us. The stones were used as a site of a hermitage in the Middle Ages. Okay, hard sandstone, formed 100 million years ago in the Cretaceous era, or according to them. Thousands of years of erosion washed the rocks. Prehistory, Middle Ages, Okay, enough of that. Here are etchings of the stones in 1663. Well, here in this etching, really lending to the idea that it was a building that has melted. I mean, really. Pockets of preservation. This, I think, is the little area I was looking at when I started. Here, I really think so. But really interesting. I think we see more in this etching than we do today. A view of the stones in 1862. Here we go again. Grown over a little more. Really almost looking like some old Chinese painting. And it will be the same over there, of course, with their beautiful outcroppings. And here we go today. So, I don't want to say I know. Sorry if you can hear the tea kettle. And this is just really fascinating. A lot more could be said about this, but I'm going to keep moving backwards. I want to show you the monument that actually led me to this. And we're told they built the monument where they did because it's in close proximity to these stones. Aha, here it is. So this is how it all started. I might be able to click back and see what it was that led me to this, but nonetheless, here we go. Some monument, gorgeous, in Germany. Here she is. Probably much bigger than it seems. I wish a person was standing here. But yeah, you could imagine yourself taking a few steps, 2 or 3 or 4, and we've got about 50 here, give or take. And a proud man or a woman here. And this is called the Hermann Monument. So that must have been a man. Or in German, the Hermann Denkmal. It's a monument again in this North Rhine-Westphalia of Germany. It's located in the remains of a circular rampart, or maybe a star fort. The monument was constructed between 1838 and 1875, so it really took them a while for this one, to commemorate some war chiefs and their victory over Rome in some battle. And we've looked at this before. Somebody has clearly chipped off the noses to hide the race of these people. So 1838, somebody in 1838 said, yes, we must build this. But sir, we're hungry. Nonsense. You don't pay rent. Get to work on this statue. But sir, all we have are shovels and modest tools. I don't know. I mean, 1838, anywhere in the world. Anywhere. 1838. Hello? Yes, I would like to build a monument. I heard you build monuments. I traveled by horse and wagon to propose this project to you. I sent several letters, but I wasn't certain if they'd arrived, since I hadn't heard back from you. Do you have plans for this monument? No, I just want it to be grander than any home in this village. Here we go. This monument in 1900. Ah, yes. This man is thinking, who is this monument for? And his son down here is thinking, who cares, father? I don't care about monuments. Son, this is no ordinary monument. We're in the middle of nowhere, if you haven't noticed. I don't care, father. I'm hungry. Son, we've traveled a long way to see this monument. It's stupid. Well, perhaps you're right, son. Let's get out of here. Okay. The sword has a length of 7 meters. 1830s, remember. I mean, they didn't just throw some monument up. Wait, did it say 7 meters? 7 meters. So that's 21 feet to us in America. A 21-foot sword. Cast. Is this bronze? I don't know. Okay. And she's really held up well over the years. And here we go. Looks like you can go inside. And here we have a chamber, an opening at the top. Absolute mind blower. I'm glad to have shared it today. And now I will make coffee. This is a site I saw last night. I believe it's in Montana. And I thought it looked like a cooked out structure. And like there were little windows here. And they've just put these historical plaques in the openings. I spent a lot of time last night researching Montana and the megaliths in Montana, and I look forward to exploring them. Here's a picture of some of those walls. This is called the Sage Wall in Montana. I think it's also called Giant's Playground. Here's another little look. And the mainstream would say these are natural. What do you think? And this was a really cool image. Temple somewhere over yonder. But to me it really showed a transition, almost becoming mountain. I mean, if it was rocked anymore, it would be a mountain. And this thing has been hit so hard with such heat, it was on its way to becoming a blob. Any moisture in the structure has escaped, and we have a full curing. And then beyond that, we crack and begin to decompose completely. Similar to roasting coffee. You roast until you hear first crack. And first crack is all the moisture escaping. Here is the photographer who took this picture, and it's the Mingun Pagoda. But anyway, yeah, once again, almost returning to something that looks natural. If the military would drop a couple bombs on it, that's it. And here's some petroglyphs. And this is either Utah or Arizona. And this really looked like a building to me. Seeing old brick lines. And always, I don't know if it's really a deception, but I always see petroglyphs on what look like old buildings. And the structures are more interesting, but almost like someone's giving us the nod and a little wink. And this also is Arizona. This is a channel I watch called something SUVing, Adventure SUV. And he finds really cool places, and here's a little access into the underrealm. And they tell us it's a sinkhole, but really all of this was solid, seeming like a structure that had been buried, and then eventually the rubble that had filled it in had washed away. This is the Gillespie Dam. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. And this baby is old, like early 1900s old. Super cool. And it failed. And then I think they built this one. So you see the old one in the background. And you see this new one that again looks like it was made for rail. Similar to the one on the Indian reservation I crossed recently in a video. And anyway, back to the one back here. Look at this. So here's the backside. Okay, right? What does this look like? These look like lime kilns. I mean, really, like what I was checking out in Utah. The row of kilns is the same thing. And you had a platform on the top. And again, look here. Really interesting. Here we see like a blast crater behind it. And this structure is really interesting. Looks like it goes underground. And this is the old one. This is the old 1900s one. At least that's what I gathered from this video that I watched. But I was really shocked when I saw the back here. And maybe I'll flash some lime kilns in Utah on the screen, if you don't know what I'm talking about. This is really fascinating. This is really advanced. Here again, we can see it in the background, the old one. And the new bridge. Look at this rust, like it's been underwater or something. And this is unverified. I was going to do a reverse image search. Okay, now it's verified. This is Calcutta. It's the Treja Valley National Park in Italy. Mind-blowing. Here's an old building from the 1600s in Venice. Unbelievable building. What are you going to do in here? And the more I do this research, the more I'm impressed with the skills of the past. I compare it to myself and the things I'm trying to do on my piece of land. Just build a little house. I've built 2 little houses. The second one is Nicer than the first, but it's still a little too small. I could use one more room. And what a great house this would make. Plenty. These days, tiny homes are becoming more popular. For me, it was just wanting to build a little house. I didn't care if it was just a small box, just a place to sleep and live free. And if you don't know, I wrote a book about this. You can find the link in the description. And by the time I built my second house, which I only finished, I want to say a year ago, but it's not really finished. I still have a lot more to do. This house originally cost $10,000 to frame, do the foundation, siding, and roof. And then I put another maybe 5 or 10 on the inside, insulation, sheetrock, so maybe 15 or 20. My house is very similar to this one here, a little smaller, and my roof is not configured like this, although I think this is great, especially if you're not a good builder like me. This is an easy roof, and an easy house. This house shouldn't cost more than 15 or 20, but if you ask somebody to build you this house, a contractor, you'll probably be in it 150,000, maybe 100 if you have a good, honest contractor. And in this case, you would put it on a mortgage, and you'd be in it for 30 years. And I don't like that. I don't think these people would have liked that either. That is slavery, and takes away from the purpose of having a tiny home. A tiny home is something you could build realistically. If you have help, it would be really easy. One person. You could do it all yourself. I was able to do everything myself except lift the walls in place. I was able to build the walls on the ground, but I asked my friend to help me lift them in place while I secured them. You build them on the ground and then you set them up. Someone holds it in place. You put some screws in, or nails. I prefer screws. I use screws on everything. It takes a little longer, but it gives you a peace of mind. So I've decided to build another house, guest house. This house, in fact. I'm going to use these plans, and I'll be very happy with it. And yet, in reality, I'll be fully aware that it's a piece of junk compared to this thing next to it. And that we as a people are just going backwards. How long until things are completely unaffordable and we have to live in even smaller houses or smaller apartments, cubicles essentially? I'm also working on a shipping container. Originally I was going to roast coffee out of it, but I hope to turn it into a little rental, nightly rental, and perhaps still roast coffee in it. I tried to get the power hooked up to it. It has solar right now, but I thought if I was going to have a rental, it would be nice to tap into the power. Well, the county told me I could not hook up my shipping container to power or really do anything with my shipping container unless I had a permit or permission. So I said thank you and decided if I was going to get a permit, I would just go for something big. And this is it. A tiny house. Another one. And it's an experiment this time. I'd like to see how much it would cost to build a 500 square foot house in 2023. How long it will take. And I think I can share this experience with you all. Maybe the last 5 minutes of every video. I'll also have it bid out by some contractors to see how much they would charge us to build this small, modest house. I would love to do the same with the one on the right, but I think we will never get a bid for something like this. We can't even find artisans that can replicate this work. I tried a few times. If you remember in a past video, I tried to get a bid on a miniature Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco and never heard back from anyone. But anyway, thank you for joining me this week. I have nothing else to say. I love you all. God bless, and I'll see you next week.